Hi and welcome to In the Court of the Wenton Knave. It is the Wenton Knave because it's only me. This is a Patreon request from a very long time ago. Has to be done. There's going to be two of these. This is the first one. Remain in Light. Obviously a great band to do because they are a great band. Talking Heads, I'm maybe not so qualified to review this one. It's an album I know really well, but don't really know Talking Heads, and it's not quite my thing and all that stuff. So if you have a different opinion and you'd like to share that, that's fine. We can have different opinions, and if you'd like to put that in the comments, that's fine too. Don't be upset if you're new to this and have discovered this channel or something, etc. The internet sucks, Don't start a YouTube channel. People are awful. Anyway, this is their fourth album, okay, but it's their third with Brian Eno. So it's the third Brian Eno thing, interestingly. The previous albums were much more song-oriented, though. And, I'm going to be comparing this with Discipline and Adrian Belew, obviously. Remember, this is the channel. It's a prog channel. And obviously, as I said, I know this album, but I don't know it as well as Discipline. Much more dance-oriented than Discipline. And this is rhythmic music, and that's kind of the main thing they were going for with the album. They definitely saw the way the wind was blowing, I think. Obviously, it's hugely influential, but there was a movement in that direction with music generally. But what I mean by that, I think, should be explained. I think okay. So the rhythm section were fed up. They felt like they were turning into a backing band for the songs, and it was all about David Byrne and his songs, which must be tedious if you're a drummer, and that's not what a band is. A band is something that happens with multiple people playing. So, but they went on holiday. They went to the Caribbean and discovered traditional Haitian music, apparently, and coincidentally, David Byrne was kind of suffering from writer's block. The pressure to write all the songs, the Syd Barrett thing of come on, write the songs. But he joined them on holiday, the rhythm section, and liked this idea of doing rhythm stuff and jamming. Building music out of jams, out of rhythms, out of mantras. So we know it's what later became called world music, and bands adopting this kind of thing. Brian Eno, of course, arrived as well, and reticent initially because he's already did two albums with them, and you can see why. Because obviously Lodger is good. There's loads of stuff on there I like of Lodger. I like DJ, but it's not as good as Low and Heroes, is it? And they all talk about that, how they all knew it was the last one and it wasn't as good. And you can see how maybe he didn't want to repeat that process of the third one not being as good, and no point doing it. But he was persuaded, and I'm glad he was persuaded because obviously it's Remain in Light. It's such a big album, hugely influential, fantastic album. It's the only album of theirs I know properly. I've heard the other albums, but not properly. So what you end up with is a blend of rock and African music, if you can call it that. It does rock. This is rock music. I think people won't call it that. This will be one of the things where people may be angry and go into the comments and just don't bother. It's fine. It got called new wave, but this doesn't really have anything to do with some other bands that were called new wave. So what's new wave? It was just what was happening at the time, and it was what they were doing at the time and exploring. There is definitely an Eno flavour to the proceedings. You do have to be in the mood for it. It's very dense. It's quite an experience to sit through the whole album. It's not like sonically high resolution, even for 1980, but it's really a full sound. So, like I said, definitely a link with the Berlin trilogy. Berlin trilogy is much more song oriented, though. This more rhythmic and kind of electric. It's a weird thing to say with Fripp being on Heroes, but I think electric is a good word. There's guitar on it, and there's sonics. So, and obviously, Adrian Belew exemplifies that, although he was only brought in later. For want of a better phrase, that's how I'm describing it. Comparing it to the Berlin albums, it's rhythmic and it's sort of electric. It's got these sharp sounds on it. I've known this album for a very long time, but it is one of those cases where I don't feel... I'm not really qualified to talk about it, as I said. I like the single, Once in a Lifetime, obviously everyone knows that one. Great, it's a great one of those songs, just put the song on. The lyrics are good. It's the how did I get here? Okay, I'm here. Oh, I've got a mortgage and I've got this job, and you missed the starting gun. It's another one of them. I think for some people they have to remove the MTV-ness of it. I'm sure this must have been played a lot on MTV. It's got that weird VHS effect on the video, and it's David Byrne jumping around and all that stuff. I don't get that because I wasn't aware of that video, but I can see how people might need to sort of remove that from their listening to get the song. It's a great song. So yeah, their aim was to remove the self from the music. It's the Eno thing. It's not about the people. It's not about individuals expressing themselves. That's meaningless. It's about the sound. It's about the texture of the sound. It's a weird thing that's not what I think. That's not the music I like, but I do like this. So what they did, they got back to rhythm and jammed, and then they learned to play this particular rhythm over and over again live. So they were sort of live loop band. And obviously you can see why Fripp liked that direction. Although actually in a completely different way, what Fripp was doing. Not what Belew was doing, obviously, was just this. But what Fripp was doing was a very different thing, but it's that same thing. It's about the repeating pattern. He would just sort of make it unnecessarily complicated. So yeah, Adrian Belew brought in quite late in the proceedings to add synth guitar, and I think that was a great idea. I mean, I know several of them really wanted to bring him in and give the music character, something on top to stop it being dance music. Yeah, and obviously the product of that, the guitar on here is awesome, and that's why I'm here. That's why I know the album really. The lyrics are inspired by a book, African Rhythm and African Sensibility, and also another book called African Art in Motion. He spent a lot of time trying to change his, rather than having a song and singing the song, of having a way of singing, almost sort of scatting kind of thing. This doesn't sound like scat. And it took him time to get that right and really be happy with it, I think. Or maybe it was okay, but he had to get used to it himself. There were a few tracks left off. There's 8 tracks on here, 3 on side 1 and 4 on side 2. 5 on side 2, strangely. These are really outtakes, but again you can hear what I hear as 80s King Crimson on there as well, so that's cool. That's all I've got on Remain in Light. I hope that was interesting. Join me again for more Deep Purple reviews, but other than that, there is one more request to come very soon. Cheers.